steak and potatoes on the grill. So coal-fired ribeye, potatoes that we're gonna cook right in the fire. We're using ribeye here. You could do this with any cut. I would certainly recommend cuts that are on the fattier side than the leaner side. A strip would work, a porterhouse would work, and a ribeye are all great choices. So the first thing that I try to do with the steak is I get it seasoned. So I'm gonna build a little rub for this. I'm gonna use equal parts, very coarse ground black pepper, because it's gonna hold up a little better, not get pasty. Kosher salt, equal parts of both. And then I'm gonna take the same amount of rosemary and throw it in there. So in goes the rosemary, and then you're just gonna kind of work this together with your fingertips so the natural oils from this rosemary are gonna work their way through the salt and the coarse ground pepper. This is a thick steak, about 3 inches thick. You have to really go liberally, and what's gonna happen is when we cook this, the salt actually starts to pull some moisture to the surface of the steak, and that's gonna help you form that nice crust on the steak that everyone loves. So you go all the way around, don't miss a spot. I have a grill set up with offset heat at about 225 to 250 degrees. We're gonna take these steaks, put them on the offset heat, close the lid, and let them cook at that 225 to 250 degrees, and then we'll finish it in those charcoals to get that deep, rich crust of happiness in the center. The coals are all the way up front. There's no coals in the back. Close the lid. That is gonna take 35 to 45 minutes to get up to the temperature before I finish them in the charcoal. As the steak is going, I wanna get my potatoes started. These are smaller potatoes. I have like purple, red skins, little Yukon Golds in here, and these are gonna take about the same amount of time to cook as the steak. All I'm doing now is I'm gonna build a little pouch so I could put this on the grill. I'm gonna make like a little cross with my aluminum foil. So the parchment goes down, we make our cross, and then we're gonna put the potatoes in the middle. We're gonna take some rosemary, about 3 sprigs, throw them in there, some sea salt, some cracked black pepper. Now there's 2 ways that you could do the garlic. You could either sliver garlic up, which is delicious if people want like slices of garlic. If you just want the flavor of garlic, you could leave the garlic whole with the skins and just give it a little smash and throw them right in there like that. Now we start to form the bundle. Once we get the bundle kind of built up, I'm gonna pour about a cup of white wine in here. You could use stock, you could use water, you could use a cider, any kind of liquid to kind of just help the situation. So now we're gonna pour in some of that white wine, seal the rest of this up. So these are gonna go over on this grill, off the heat. Charcoal is on one side, and we're gonna cook those to about 30 to 45 minutes. All right, our steaks are going. The grill is set at about 225, 250 degrees, because remember, we're doing a reverse sear. So I'm gonna put the thermometer right in the middle. I wanna cook these to about medium rare-ish, maybe a bump over that. So I wanna take them to rare. I'm at 73 degrees. I'm looking for this to get up to about 110, 115. So we're in a good place with this. Potatoes are cooking away over there. Lizzie, I'm very excited. These steaks are,
you are
right where we want them. I like to take them to about 110-ish, 115.
because you're still gonna get those nice and hot, right?
Oh yeah, these are going right on the live coals. Look,
Woo.
ooh, they're very hot. But
Oh, yeah.
you could test them with the tip of a knife. It's nice and tender. So I'm gonna take my potatoes, very hot, very hot, very hot, to there. Here's where things get a little crazy. I'm gonna take the top off the grill.
This terrifies me a little.
Are you frightened?
A little bit.
I really want these steaks to get like a really super char. I'm gonna take them, I'm gonna brush these with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. And then I'm gonna take these steaks and throw them
So no foil, no nothing.
right into the coals. You can see they're now like white,
Yes.
like super hot.
Yes.
And we're gonna take these giant steaks
Place them gently. Oh, careful.
right in the fire,
Scared.
right in the
Okay.
fire.
Wow.
The first time I was
Right.
playing around with this once, I didn't have a grill, so I did them in a fire pit. And it
Awesome.
was the most delicious steak I've ever had. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. So I'm
Okay.
gonna man this.
Whoa.
I mean, look at the crust.
It's
Oh my
just
God.
sparkly
with
and
that
bubbly.
char. It is, right?
Oh, the smell.
So I'm just gonna let these kind of rest and hang out.
Okay.
So I'm gonna bring up my steaks. They are ready to go. I have these beautiful potatoes. I mean, look at this. We cooked them with rosemary, sea salt, some garlic cloves. I'm gonna give them a little
Give them a little shine.
splish splash of olive oil on top.
Great.
And those are gonna go on the platter with all their glorious
Oh,
juices
wow.
and the wine and all that
pretty.
good stuff
Wow.
in there. I'm gonna start cutting up these steaks. I let them rest for about 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And the great thing about a ribeye is you kind of have a couple cuts in here. So what I do is I cut out the center of the ribeye, and then you have that beautiful cap, which the decal, which you know is my favorite.
Yeah, I was
And
going to
then
say,
these
is
pieces.
this
Is like the
usually quality,
leanest. This
but-
is the leanest piece.
Okay, so that wouldn't be your favorite.
You know, and we're gonna cut that up.
Oh,
And then
so good.
the decal, I'm gonna cut that up. All right, so let's taste the steak first.
Yes.
Look at this. It's cooked perfectly through because we did that reverse sear. So it cooks it so evenly through the whole steak, which I
Really
love.
is beautiful. Yeah, let's set that one right here. Okay. Oh, it's very tender. It's very tender.
It's such a great way to cook it because you get that great crust on the outside. It cooks so evenly on the inside. A big clam bake. In my bowl, I have some melted butter. I'm using a stick of butter. We're gonna put that right in our bowl. To that, I'm gonna add some of my seasonings. I have chili flakes. I like a little bit of heat in mine. This is obviously an optional ingredient. If you like it even spicier than me, go crazy. Dealer's choice. That's how we roll here on Symon's Dinners. Also, some seafood seasoning. You know, it has celery salt, smoked paprika, a little bit of cayenne, some cumin in there. It just worked really nice with the clams and is gonna help us flavor our broth quite a bit. So to this, I'm gonna add, I have 4 cobs of corn. I cut them in half because the way that we serve this is I literally just dump the whole thing right on the table, and it's just a little bit easier for people to manage when they're split. So these go in. I'm putting sweet potatoes in here. Some people put whole potatoes. You want it about the same size as your corn. So if you have huge potatoes, quarter them. If they're the size of the corn right off the rip, you could just put them in whole. So just kind of keep everything the same size so things are steaming and cooking at the same rate. And the last thing I'm gonna do is season this up with a little bit of kosher salt and cracked black pepper.
You're leaving the skins on the potatoes?
I leave the skins right on. We clean the skins first. I wash the outside of the potatoes, but I leave it all on there. There's a lot of vitamins, so I leave it all together, and it holds it together a little bit as it's cooking. We give this a toss. It's just like with a saute pan. You gotta get that flip going. All right, so we get the chilies, the seasoning, everything coats everything real nice. So we have a bunch of garlic cloves. You don't have to peel these or anything. They're gonna get strained out eventually. I put 10 or 12 in there. I have 2 onions. You could half or quarter them. They go in the pot.
Could I use yellow onions in there too?
Pick an onion, any onion. You could add any onion that you want in here, Liv. No worries about any of that. We're gonna put in our stock. I'm using chicken stock here, about 4 cups. Obviously, a seafood stock would work great. You could even do a beef stock if you want a slightly deeper flavor. And I'm going to put in 2 IPAs. You could do beer choice. I like the hoppiness of the IPAs in here, you know, but that's your choice. And then just a touch of salt and pepper in there. And we're in a good place.
What are your thoughts if someone doesn't have fresh garlic? Could they do garlic powder in here, or would that be weird?
Just be careful. You know, the garlic powder tends to get a little intense on you, so just, I would say, be a little bit tentative with it. You have a little bit more control with the cloves, and you're gonna get more of that fresh garlic flavor with the cloves. So this is our base. On top of that, I put my pie. Whew. Put it on that grill. It's a little hot right now. And we're gonna take our corn, our potatoes, our butter, the seasoning, and I'm gonna dump it right in. See what's going on, Liv? Are you tall enough?
I'm on my
toes?
tiptoes.
Here, I'll tilt it toward you. That all goes in. And we're gonna let this start to come to a simmer, and then everything's gonna start steaming in there, and it's gonna start cooking the corn and the potatoes. We wanna cook this about halfway through before we begin to add our clams and our sausage. Chorizo, as you can see, I just kind of gave it a nice char on the grill. That's what I'm looking to do. We didn't cook it through because it's gonna cook through when it steams with those clams. So Lizzie, here's what we got going. I have sweet potatoes, corn, that I toss in a little bit of butter, chili flake, you know, just kind of letting that seafood seasoning. And then underneath I have some stock and IPA and onions and garlic. And I'm gonna top it with the clams and a little bit of grilled chorizo.
Great.
I didn't cook the chorizo through, I just charred it on the grill. I'm gonna put the chorizo on here.
Nice.
Then these beautiful middle neck clams, we already washed them, soaked them.
Scrubbed them. I was working hard.
Did all that good stuff.
In there.
These are gonna go on top. And then we put the lid back on, and when they open, all the juice from the clams rolls down into that broth. Yeah, pop it on, yep. And which is gonna give our broth so much flavor, and then I'm gonna amp the broth up a little bit at the end too.
Yes.
That's gonna take about 8 to 10 minutes or till those clams pop open.
Great.
Look out, I'm gonna put this on here.
Okay.
Lots of hot things.
Out of the way.
That's, ooh, and you can see that steaming. Now,
the hot
Liv,
zone.
look at this.
That smells so
Oh, man. So, Liz, in here I put chicken stock, I put some IPA, garlic, onions, and then the clam broth. And then I'm gonna put in a couple shakes of hot sauce.
That's got a little chipotle
Little
in
smoky
it.
chipotle hot sauce. And I'm gonna do a little bit of butter just to finish this clam broth off. And now we have this beautiful clam broth to drink. All right, so that's ready to go. Now for the big moment. Liv, get in there. So see the steam's coming off, the clams have opened, the sausage is cooked, our corn, our potatoes, and then we just dump it right down the middle. Oh boy.
That looks so good.
Doesn't it? You could start putting the lemons on there. A little clam broth for Lizzie. A little cheers with this.
Oh, wow. That's intense and good.
Right?
Cheers.
It is intense and good and buttery. All right,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
get right in.
I'm gonna have a clam.
Things do smell kind of buttery in here.
The clam is great because they just popped open, so they're still super juicy. They took on all the flavors from the liquid underneath them, and they dropped all their juice into our broth.
They have got just a tinge of like back heat. Is there something a little spicy in there?
Yeah, I did. I put a little spice in there. Your palate is impeccable.
We do want a little sweet potato action
All
though.
right, okay.
I like the sweet potato in a clam bake
Do you?
because the saltiness of the clam, you know, kind of goes nicely with that sort of sweetness of the sweet potato.
Yeah, it's salt and sweet.
I think I like it better than a regular potato.
Which is
I
always
love
good.
it.
We are gonna focus on the Coney Dog today, a Detroit iconic dog. I know the Coney Dog, it sounds kind of weird coming from Detroit, but it is, they have it in New York, Coney Island, but the Coney Dog is famous in Detroit. Every corner has a Coney Dog place, brought to you by the Greek immigrants. You're welcome. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to start making our Coney sauce. This sauce is unbelievable. It is a chili-based sauce. We make it with ground sirloin, about 80% ground sirloin, and about 20% ground beef heart. I have my pan over the coals on the grill. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil to get that going, and we're going to start browning our meat like we would with any ground beef chili. So first thing goes in is our ground sirloin. This is 80-20. And then I'm going to put in my ground beef heart, which is also probably about 90-10 fat to meat.
Why do you recommend those ratios? I know some people try and cook with a leaner one.
I'm not a fan of the lean meat. I don't like it. In a hamburger, in a chili, 80-20 is as low as I'm going to go because fat is flavor. So as these hit the pan, Liv, I'm going to hit them with some kosher salt and a little bit of cracked black pepper, kind of right off the rip. And then I'm gonna flatten this meat out and just let it start to brown before I start cutting my vegetables. And we have a nice sizzle there. We're gonna look for some good browning. I'm gonna put a small dice on my bell peppers and on my onions, and then I'm just gonna mince up my garlic.
Is the chili what makes a Coney Dog a Coney Dog?
Chili is what makes a Coney Dog a Coney Dog. Sometimes you will see some grated cheddar on there, which is a nice addition, but the classic is chopped onion, squiggle of mustard. So peppers, small dice. Before I finish this onion, I'm gonna give my ground beef a little shake and stir and break it up because I'm cooking with my senses, Liv, so I could smell that it is about ready. Oh, look at this. Come here, get in here real quick.
I'm coming.
See, I just flipped it. See that great color we're getting on there?
Oh, wow. Look at that. I love the browning.
We just chop it up, let it continue to brown up before we add our veg.
Flavored.
And I chop it with my spoon, but I think a great trick at home when you're making any kind of ground, like bolognese, chili, anything like that, is this style potato masher, and just go in and it really breaks it up good. All right, so ground beef is looking great. I'm gonna add a little bit more olive oil in here just for fat purposes. Finish our onion dice, and then we will be in full chili build mode, Liv. Liv, I know you're not a big meat eater, but are you a hot dog eater?
I am now. I grew up as a very weird child and used to like skinless hot dogs, which is just blasphemous.
Blasphemous.
Listen, I've come a long way.
Okay, so we have our meat browning in that fat. It's looking great. To this, I'm gonna add all my veg. I'm gonna add my onions and peppers, and then I always put that garlic in last. So we're gonna work the onions, the peppers, and the garlic into our meat and fat so they start to sweat and become translucent. And now we're gonna start working on the spices that we are gonna add to this. So it's pretty straightforward with the spices. I have about 4 teaspoons of chipotle powder, about 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of clove. Clove tends to be a little bit strong, so go light on the clove. But you will also sometimes find a touch of cinnamon in there because the Greeks often put cinnamon in their chili and ground meat mixtures. So cinnamon is something that you will also find. And some dried Greek oregano, the good stuff. All right, so there is our spices. And they go into the pot. I'm gonna put a little bit more oregano in because Liz isn't here and she won't know what's in there, but I like it to be a little more oregano-y.
And do you add those after the veg so that both the veg and the meat get seasoned?
Yeah, so right? we season it with salt and pepper already. And then now we're coming in after the veg and we're just gonna let the fat and the heat open up those dried spices. You always wanna let them go for a hot second to let that kind of happen. So that's what we're doing now. Now a little bit of tomato paste, Tuscan toothpaste, and we are gonna put in about 4 ounces. The tube is 4.5, so I'm gonna put in the whole darn tube. And we're gonna mix this in with the meat and let it get a little bit rusty in color. So that cooks for about a minute or two. So I just kind of move it over to the side and we're gonna let that start to get a little bit rusty. And then the last things that we have is we have a little bit of flour and some beef stock because we're gonna make almost like a roux, and then the sauce is just gonna be a little bit meaty, a little bit saucy, classic Coney sauce. I'm getting so excited right now. I can't tell you how many Coney dogs I've eaten in my life.
Where's the best hot dog you've ever had?
Oh my gosh, Liv, that is a loaded question.
It's an intense one.
My favorite hot dog of all time.
It might be today's.
It might be today's. There used to be a place, it's closed now, in Cleveland called Hot Sauce Williams. It was an old school barbecue joint, and they made a Polish boy that I thought was outstanding. There's also a truck in Cleveland called Setti's that does Polish boys that I think is great. So I'm gonna put in my flour and we're gonna mix that in with the meat. All right, beef stock goes in. This is gonna cook for about an hour on a very low simmer. And I mean, if you look at it right now, it is just, you can see the peppers and the onions and that beautiful tomato hue coming through there in the stock. I mean, this is heaven in a pot right now. It is the perfect topping for a Coney dog. You can see that chili is cooked through. You don't have to have the chili. This one's just for pop-up. So it's the bun, the hot dog, that Coney sauce on top, good amount of raw onion, and then yellow mustard. And that's called the Coney dog.
You want one of those?
Noah.
Noah.
Sorry, everybody else with their beautiful hot dogs. The Coney dog is just tough to beat. Today, we're making ribs, and there are very few things in the world I like making more than ribs. But not only are we making ribs, I am going to overcome one of my food aversions. I think almost everybody loves ranch dressing, and you know, when I look at the ingredients in ranch dressing, I like all the ingredients. So I wanted to try to rethink ranch a little bit and make me enjoy it. Is I wanted to be part of the party. So we're doing baby back ribs with a ranch dry rub. First thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna make this ranch rub. Now, for the rub, I have a half cup of dry buttermilk. To that, I'm gonna put in 1 tablespoon of dried parsley.
What's dried buttermilk?
So dried buttermilk is buttermilk that's been dehydrated into a powder. So you get the tartness and the flavor of buttermilk. It's just dehydrated in powder form. So now I'm gonna put in 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. So Liv, you're always saying, like, because I'm always using the fresh garlic, you're like, could I use garlic powder? Could I use,
so much easier.
This is your moment. 2 teaspoons of dill powder. These are all the things that are in ranch. 2 teaspoons of dried chives. 1 teaspoon of onion flakes. And 1 teaspoon of onion powder. So this is the base for this ranch rub. So we whisk this together.
And could you use this ranch rub on other proteins besides ribs?
You can. It's great on a roasted chicken. It's great on pork chops. The choice is yours. If you love ranch as much as many people do, save some of the rub for later. You're gonna love it on most everything. It's also good if you fry your own potato chips. When the potato chips come out, you sprinkle them. Also pork crackling. Very delightful on pork crackling. So, all right, here is now my rib rub. To the rib rub, I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of kosher salt and about a tablespoon of coarse ground black pepper. For the ribs, today we have baby backs. So there's 2 basic style of ribs. There's baby back and St. Louis.
Are St. Louis spare ribs? Isn't that
St. Louis is like a spare rib. So there's a saying called eating high off the hog, which is like the higher the meat is, the more expensive it is. Well, the baby back ribs come higher up the hog. They're a little bit shorter. After they clean the loin, they take those ribs off. Those are baby back ribs. A little bit farther down the hog by the belly, they take the belly off, and those ribs are the spare ribs. They're a little bit meatier, they're a little bit longer, not quite as tender, but have a little bit more chew, but a little bit more depth of flavor also. Both are delicious, just kind of depends. I would say go to your butcher or the grocery store, and whichever ones look best are the ones that you should buy that day. I think that's the easiest way to do it. Okay, now we need to clean on the back of these ribs. And most ribs, they'll sometimes do them at the butcher shop for you, but typically they have the silver skin on the back. So we need to take the silver skin off for 2 reasons. It's not delicious to eat, and we also want to let some of that smoke permeate the meat. So you just grab a towel, and you could see it's coming up, and you just pull it, and it pulls right off. And that's garbage, no need for it. I find it easier to always start at the skinnier part of the ribs. Let's see if we can get this one here. Sometimes you got to get it started with a knife.
I'm really glad you're doing this and not me.
Why is that?
It just feels like,
weird to you?
It's a little weird.
A little weird? Okay, so there we go. We got
Feels like a you job.
Once you get it going, it just pulls off, typically in one piece, just like that. And what this does is, if you leave the silver skin on, the smoke can't really get in there. So that's that. silver skin's off, now we're ready to season. Now, another thing that I think people overthink or don't do on rubs is they hear the term rub and they think, okay, I really gotta rub that in. You don't really have to rub it in. A rub is more the mix, but to put it on, it's more of a sprinkle. So I'm just gonna sprinkle all the way across here with my rub on both sides. And remember, all our seasonings in here, our salt, our pepper, our buttermilk, all that good stuff. And the ribs have a little bit of natural moisture, which is gonna help this adhere. And that's what we want. If they feel very dry to you, you could always give them a little spritz with a little bit of cider or even water, or rub them with the lemon like I said earlier. Now we take the rest of the ribs, the rub.
Say that 10 times
I know.
fast.
All right, so now my ribs are rubbed. So much fun. All right, so we have the ranch rub on the ribs. Oh my gosh, I think I figured out why I don't like ranch. It's just too hard to say all this stuff. I got my ranch rub on the ribs. Now I'm gonna get my grill ready. Now, I like to cook ribs a little faster than most, so I'm going 1-1-1. The first hour is the ribs unwrapped. They're gonna start the smoking procedure. The internal temperature of the rib is gonna get to about 140 degrees, which is when it stops taking on smoke in the meat. The second hour, we're gonna wrap the ribs in foil. We're gonna let them continue to go. The third hour, we're gonna unwrap the ribs, spritz them with a little bit of pickle juice, so some of that smoke could stick to the exterior of the meat, and then the ribs will be done. So I have my grill set up with indirect heat. So all my coals are in the back. There are no coals on the front. And to the grill in the pit, I'm gonna add a little bit of water because we need some moisture floating around in there. So we're gonna stick this pan right in this opening, like so. I could have put the pan in first and then poured the water, and it would have been easier. Okay, so put the grate back on. Now we're gonna take our 2 slabs of ribs, bone side down. We're gonna put them over this little steamer water bath.
Why are you doing bone side down?
Bone side down because I always start them that way. They're gonna get some nice color on the top. The bones are gonna protect the meat from drying out on the bottom. And so we always smoke ribs meat side up. I just took them off. And you can see how they start shrinking down the bone a little bit? That's a good sign that they are tender and ready to go. And as I pull them back, they start to gently pull away. And then I always cut from the backside. See the bone, go right in between each bone. And if you have a favorite barbecue sauce, you could certainly add a little bit of sauce to these. You know me, Lizzie, I like the rub and the rib and the smoke.
You like the meat.
I like the meat. So these are still gonna have tons of flavor without sauce because of our ranch rub. Oh boy. So I'm gonna take a full rib bite.
You know, I don't know, but could I maybe have a fork?
Oh, I'm sorry.
What do you mean? You need
get,
forks?
like overzealous there. I'm gonna try my potato.
All right, how's the rib?
Well, one, the rib is cooked pretty good. The meat is coming up, but it's not completely falling off the bone. That's what you want with the rib. You know, the smoke ring, you get a better smoke ring if the ribs start super cold and you bring them up and then they develop that ring as they go. So I'm not worried about that. And I gotta tell you, the ranch rub is super yummy. I think one of the things I don't love about ranch, like as a dressing, is it's just kind of heavy and weights everything down. But as a rub, it's really fun on ribs.
Okay, great.
I'm gonna smoke some chicken wings. So first things first, with your wings, I mean, I like to use the whole wing. Look at these babies, Liv. I mean, they're big. That's about 3 to a pound. It could take on a good amount of smoke and flavor, and you don't have to worry about it drying out. For the marinade, I go with a touch of sugar, a little bit of cayenne. It's about 2 tablespoons of cayenne, 2 tablespoons of sugar, roughly. About a tablespoon of salt, and then we are going to add the juice of 2 limes. So we get those juiced. We give this a little mix. And this isn't like a wet marinade. This is just kind of to coat everything. And once you get the marinade on your wings, you could go pretty quick with them if you want, but in a perfect world, I would say let them marinate for 4 to 6 hours to really kind of take on the flavor. And because we're using the whole wing, it protects us from worrying about them drying out. All right, so wings are ready. I'm gonna set them over there. So these ones have been marinated for, you know, about 4 hours. And you can see how they kind of take on the marinade a bit, and that's what we're looking for. Now, I'm gonna get the rub set and ready. So kosher salt, cracked black pepper, and these are roughly all equal parts. Sugar, a little bit of paprika. I'm using a sweet paprika. Chili powder, garlic powder, onion powder, ground cumin, and a little bit of cayenne. And then we're gonna put in a 1/2 cup brown sugar.
Okay, so I know you're gonna probably get mad at me for saying this, but couldn't I just like buy my own concoction of spices? Do I have to make it
No,
myself?
100%. There are some great rubs out there. If there's one that you love, use it. All right, rub is ready, wings are marinated. Now they need to start smoking. So I have all my coals set to one side of the grill. They're at white embers now, or getting close to that white ember situation. Another thing that you can do, I don't always do it, is you could do wood chips. I have apple chips here. We soaked them in a little bit of water. So you could take a little handful of your chips and you could add your chips to your coals to give you some of that flavor. But you want to let the smoke clear a bit. If you see huge plumes of smoke, wait a second till that burns down. The plumes of smoke is what makes things taste a little bit on the acrid side. The clean smoke is what adds that nice smoke flavor. Okay, so now we're just gonna take our wings and we're gonna set them on the side of the grill where there are no coals. So these are gonna smoke in here and cook all the way through, but the skin is gonna kind of render out. And then at the end, I'm gonna finish these on a hot grill so I could get that nice crispy skin.
And how do you mimic this indoors?
These would be delicious, not smoked also. So I would get your marinade, roast them in a 350-degree oven, 375-degree oven, until they're cooked all the way through and tender. When they come out, you could toss them in the rub, they'll still be delicious. So wings are on the smoker, 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, look at that. Chicken wings are looking good. You can see the skin is tightening up, which is a good sign. These are going at 350. They're not gonna get any of that char color on there yet. We're gonna do that at the very end. The wings take about 25 to 30 minutes, depending on the size of the wing. Remember though, we're gonna grill them at the end to kind of bring them the rest of the way through. So you cook them about 90% on the smoker, finish with the char. All right, Lizzie, check this out.
Those are giant.
They're
chicken
giant, yeah, right?
Holy
These have been
moly.
going for about 35 minutes. So they're cooked
gorgeous.
all the way through now. But when you smoke at a lower temperature, you don't get that crispy skin.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these off here and I'm gonna move them to my hotter grill where we have the pot simmering along.
Nice.
So now we're gonna get that nice char on the wings, which is gonna crisp up the skin. This is all coming together. All right, Lizzie, I know you are not a wing. Look at how
Those
beautiful
are
they
really
are.
good though, I must
like-
say, and they smell amazing.
Okay, this isn't hot. Could you set this over there? Memphis dry rub on my wings. We give these a toss. And then I'm gonna take the wings. And this is why I like doing the wings separate, because you get that crispy chicken situation. Let me pick the perfect wing for you. I need a
Find it.
perfect Lizzie wing. Which side? Do you want the little
See,
drumette or?
yes.
You want the little drumette?
Do.
Do you want to use your dip?
Well, of course I do. You think. See, this might be why too. I don't necessarily
They
like
just
to get
peel
my
right
fingers
off the
dirty.
bone. Oh my God. Come on.
Wow.
All
Okay.
day.
Those are incredibly tender.